Hey everybody, Miss Nunn here. I hope you've been making artwork during our stay-at-home order. I know I have. This is a wonderful time to flex your artistic muscles. And today I want to introduce you to a new art process called Collagraph. This is a really easy process and it's good for our quarantine time because we're using recycled materials. A collagraph is a picture, sometimes referred to as a plate, constructed by stacking and gluing pieces of board or cardboard onto a larger board. So a lot of board going on here. Some artists use a collagraph like a stamp once it's complete, or as my older artists know, it's called a matrix in printmaking, in order to make a print. Today, however, we're just going to focus on the collagraph plate itself, and that's going to be our artwork. If you would like to go on to the next step of creating a collagraph and actually make it into a print, then I encourage you to Google collagraphs and how to create a collagraph print. The materials that you need for a collagraph are pretty simple. You're going to need some recycled cardboard, either from your Amazon boxes or any kind of box. I actually happened to clean out my pantry, and so I just got a lot of recycled cracker boxes and cereal boxes out. You're going to need some scissors, and you're going to need glue or tape or any kind of adhesive that you have around the house. Before I start this process, I like to organize my materials and prepare them. So the very first thing I'm going to do is take all of these boxes that I collected from my pantry, and I'm going to break them down. I'm going to open them up, and I just like to cut them along the edges or the folds of the box. And then I also like to go all around the edges or the perimeter of the box. And I just cut off all of the edges. If that was difficult for you because your hands are small and it's difficult to cut cardboard, then you might want to get an adult to help you cut your cardboard because it can be a little tricky. Here's the other thing. I like to organize my cardboard in this way or my board in this way so that I have some really nice, neat, large pieces to work with. So this piece is a good piece to actually build on top of. And then consequently, I'm also cutting out all of these smaller pieces that I'm going to stack up into a smaller stack that I can use for smaller pieces. So I'm going to take my smaller pieces and put them in a stack. I'm going to take all of my larger pieces and I'm going to put them in a stack separately. And then another way that I could sort my materials right now is by value. And I bet everybody remembers value because we've talked about it this year. But I have cardboards here that are darker, and I have boards that are lighter. So I could make some stacks of board that are organized both by size and by value. So I'm going to take my darker pieces of board and put them in a stack, and I'm going to take my lighter pieces of board and put them in a stack. So now that I have my workspace organized, I can move on to my next step. Next, anytime I make artwork, I need to take a little bit of time to plan my ideas. I like to ask myself, what will you make artwork about today? What will you make artwork about today? To get ideas, sometimes I like to look at photos on my phone. And I actually came across this photo of my sweet, sweet dog. It happens to be my background photo. Ah, yes. Loose Boo Boo. There she is. And I thought, I think I want to make artwork about my dog today because since I've been home a lot, I've spent a lot of time with my dog. And I bet you have too, been spending a lot of time with your pets. So if you can't think of anything that you're particularly motivated to make artwork about, then maybe you should try making a portrait of your pet, like I'm about to do. So now that I know what I'm going to make my artwork about, which is going to be my dog, I'm going to take some time to plan out my artwork. So I'm going to take some time to sketch my artwork. So I'm going to start with a larger piece of board, and I'm going to get my reference image, which happens to be this picture of Luce on my phone. And I'm going to have that beside me as I work. And I happen to have pencils at home. If you don't have a pencil at home, maybe you have a pen or a marker or a crayon. Any drawing material that you have will work for this part. And what I did is I just sketched out a picture of Luce based on the image that I had on my phone. So if you were drawing a building, then you would be drawing a building here. If you were motivated to make artwork about plants, you would be drawing your plants here. And now, if you need to make that a little bit easier, if you looked at that sketch of Luce and you thought, wow, that was really beautiful advanced sketch of Luce Boo Boo, I need to do something easier, no problem. You could do this project on a blank piece of board without sketching anything at all. And as you build your Collagraph, you could just experiment with different shapes and you could make a very abstract picture. Maybe you looked at that picture of Luce Boo Boo and you said, yes, I love that advanced drawing of Luce Boo Boo. I want to be challenged, Miss Nunn. Thank you. My challenge for you, if you do feel like you're working on this level, is to make sure that when you sketch your picture, that you are actually sketching every value change that you see in your reference image. So anytime that I saw Luce Boo Boo's hair was shiny or in highlight, I was sure to actually draw that shape. Anywhere where I saw Luce's fur was in shadow, I was sure to draw that shadow as well. So my challenge for you is to make sure that you get all of your values mapped out on your sketch before you start building your Collagraph. If you want to make it easier, you don't have to draw anything at all. And we'll talk about how to do that in just a moment. So now I want to go ahead and model the rest of this process on what to do next and actually build the Collagraph plate. So I'm going to take my sketch of Luce Boo Boo here, and I'm going to select some boards to actually draw some shapes from my picture, from my reference picture, onto these and try and kind of match them to the size. So let's start with Luce's eye right here. So what I'm going to do is take this piece of board and I'm going to actually draw out the eye again. And then I'm going to cut out that shape. And then I'm going to take the shape that I cut out from her eye and I'm going to glue it down. If I was challenging myself right now, I also would be thinking about value. If the eye was really dark, I would select a darker board for her eye. If it was light, I would select a lighter board for her eye. But for now, I'm just going to glue down the shape of her eye. So what I'm doing is I'm essentially creating a 3D image of Luce's face, all out of different boards. So now the next part that I'm going to add on here was her pupil, which actually looked lighter. So I'm going to draw a circle for her pupil. I'm going to cut that out. And I'm going to glue that down onto her eye. Alright. And I'm going to keep working in this way until I've completed this entire picture. I'm actually going to cut out pieces for each part of her face. Is this a little time intensive? Yeah, it's going to take you quite a bit of time if you do something that's as complicated as a portrait of your dog. However, if you are trying to make things a little bit easier, you could just simply, let's see if I can get this to stay here. You could just simply start cutting out shapes. So I could draw a triangle, and I could then just glue that wherever I want. If I wanted to work in a little bit simpler fashion. So there's a triangle. Now maybe I want to cut out a rectangle. This. Maybe I want to have the triangle sitting on top of the rectangle. Like that. And I could continue to build up my collagraph in this way, in a very simple way. So 2 different ways of working depending on your skill level. Once you're finished, you're going to want to let your collagraph dry. You're going to let it dry maybe overnight. And then finishing the collagraph, you could color it, you could paint it, you could seal it with Elmer's glue and water, kind of make a mixture of Elmer's glue and water, and brush over the entire collagraph when you're finished. And then you could move on if you'd like to Google how to print make with your collagraph. You can look that up online as well. Or you could simply just enjoy the collagraph for what it is, as being a really cool 3-dimensional picture. Okay, last thing I'd like to do today is a little bit of reflection. Reflection is a really important part of the artistic process because it allows us to share our artwork with other people, and it gives us space to think about what we've created and what we might do in the future. So to reflect on this artwork, I encourage you to get a phone, maybe a cell phone or a tablet or some sort of device that takes a photograph. I want you to take a picture of your artwork, and I want you to send it to somebody who cares about you, maybe a friend, a family member, a loved one, and I want you to ask them a few questions about your artwork. I want you to ask them, what do they like about your artwork? I want you to ask them to give you a suggestion about your artwork. What could you do differently in the future? What could you do better? What could you improve? And I want you to ask them, what do you see? What do you see in my artwork? Somebody might look at my collagraph of Loose Boo Boo and see something totally different that maybe I didn't intend, and that's okay. It's important to have other people look at your artwork. Okay, I hope everybody is staying healthy and having a good time at home making artwork. If you have any questions, please email me anytime. See you guys.